Now it's time to discuss the very important day, maybe the most important day of all time. I have come again, and people will say I am a feminist. But every year on the 8th of March, the world celebrates the International Women's Day. As you already know, the push for gender equality continues to gain momentum, yet significant gaps remain, especially back here in Nigeria and Africa. Many women and girls still face barriers in access to opportunities, leadership, healthcare, and economic participation. These challenges highlight the need for stronger advocacy, investment, and platforms that amplify women's voices and experiences. This year, the International Women's Day theme is Give to Gain. And this theme is very important because it underscores the idea that meaningful progress requires international investment, whether through mentorship, resources, opportunities, or storytelling that challenges norms and inspire change. To explore how storytelling can help drive gender equality and social change, I'm joined here on Razep Africa today by Ramatu Ada Ocheklie. I hope I got that right. Ocheklie, right, a media and digital storyteller and the founder of Shades of Us Storytelling Initiative for African people. With over a decade of experience across radio, television, film, and digital media, Ramatu uses storytelling to amplify the voices of women, children, and underserved communities. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me. And I'm glad that you're wearing purple.
Yes, thank you so much for that. There's so much to unpack discussing the woman. Very often when we bring these topics, men just roll their eyes and be like, here we go again, speaking about the women. But let's start with the effort. Do you think we are there yet? Or you are seeing the kind of momentum necessary to have that change, especially you who tell stories?
Okay, so first I want to say happy Women's Day to you and
thank you,
thank you, of the team, and to say no, we're not there yet. There's still a whole lot that needs to be done. Nigeria, if we just want to look at the Nigerian context, there's a lot that still needs to be done. Girls are still being married off as early as age 12. We still have many women who do not have the agency to make choices for their lives. We still have many women who do not even have the power to say, okay, I want to go to school and actually go to school. So we have, if we want to look at it from the child level, and then we have women who are unable to, start a business without either their father or their husband signing up. Then in politics, we have women who might get to the highest level of governance and still be attacked by other members of the House.
Unfortunately, we are recording that and it's becoming in real time.
Yes, so we're not there yet. There's still a whole lot that needs to be done to that place where, not necessarily Uhuru, because I don't think there's anywhere that has that, but to a place where women feel and know that their rights are as equal as every other member of society.
Absolutely.
So it's important that we continue to have this conversation, and not just on March 8th, on every day of the year, so that we get to that point where there is hope. The United Nations has predicted that before we'll get gender equality across the world, it's between 256 years to 300 years. It means that in our lifetime we may not see it.
Absolutely will not see it. However, the talk about gender equality is relatable to who you ask. I often have conversations with a lot of people internationally who, for them, gender equality is different. You just mentioned something very important where we have legitimate issues like 12-year-olds being married off. These are issues that a lot of us, especially in the media, tiptoe around because you don't want to be attacked. That's how bad it is. And our legislators tiptoe around the issues because it is very controversial back here. You don't want to go against some religious beliefs. You don't want to be seen as the one, and I can understand why anybody would be legitimately afraid to go there. So when you talk about gender equality, it's different for communities, and who you ask is relatable to a lot of people. What do you just want to see in Africa?
Oh, so I think I'll just take one step back before I respond to that question. Gender equality for me is seeing that we are human beings first. That's the most important thing. Once you see that this person staying in front of you is whole, is complete, and is human, you are willing to now be open to other things concerning them. That's where sometimes the conversation around equity comes up. And I'm like, if you don't see a person as human, fully human, you cannot even be equitable to them. True. That's the first part of the conversation. True. And so for me, I want to see an Africa, a Nigeria, an Abuja, whatever community I am, I want to see where women have agency. And what's agency? The ability to say, I want to do this for myself, and to be able to do it for themselves. The ability to say, I want to go to school and go to school. The ability to say, I want to go to the hospital. That's another thing. There are many women who cannot go to the hospital without the permission of their husbands.
It's unfortunate.
Here in Abuja,
in Abuja,
community we have been to where many women could not take their children to. Their children will be sick and losing their lives at home, but will not be able to take their child to the hospital until they receive the express permission of their husband. We want a Nigeria, an Africa, a community where women can say, I am sick, my child is sick, and I can take that child to the hospital because I know that I need to save their life, so I need to save myself. In some countries, they have bigger conversations. Here, we're still dealing with something as simple as that, right? Someone saying that girls should not finish school, or that once they finish school, they should not go to the university. Or even if you go to the university, there's a possibility that someone might come against you in order for you to trade sexual favors for grades. So it's a multidimensional issue that we are dealing with. If you're a farmer, there are things that women, for example, cannot access loans to. Yes, some changes have happened in the last couple of years, but we're still at a point where women farmers do not access the same kinds of loans that men can do. So when we're talking about International Women's Day, we are looking at our context.
Absolutely.
Looking at the problems that we are dealing with. Looking at the fact that in some communities, some women, their husbands die and they still have to drink the water that is used to clean his body.
His corpse,
Her head still needs to be shaved. And God forbid she decides she wants to marry somebody else. It becomes a huge problem. So these are the things that are within our context that we look at and we try to say, okay, no, let's change it for ourselves. Let's improve it. There are cultures in Nigeria where women cannot inherit their parents' properties. And it's very predominant. So we need to say, okay, let's ensure that women have access to the rights and to the things that make them fully, completely human.
Right. Well, storytelling is a very important issue. I remember when Nollywood it started trending. There was this period everybody across the entire world seemed to be watching Nigeria, basically. And the kind of stories we were pushing out gave us the picture, the image that a lot of people have made about the continent, about the country. So how has it been in pushing these nuances and narratives to get impact and telling a story in this changing landscape where our attention span is very short? So you need to get the attention of especially young people, get the attention while being interesting and sending a message.
Very important, and I would like to throw us all the way back. I'm sure you grew up in the era of Tales by Moonlight,
Of course.
So you remember that
I'm that old, yes.
We are that old. So when we used to watch Tales by Moonlight, if I mention today and right now, anybody watching this, if I just say stepmother,
they know who.
We all know that she's probably a weak-haired person and what
exactly,
have you.
We know.
And the point is, storytelling was what drove that. I can tell you a lot of people didn't have a wicked stepmother. A lot of people never knew what a wicked stepmother was. But because we had that story that was put in us to say, oh, women are terrible, women are bad, what then happens is, all you hear when you hear a stepmother is, even if you don't experience it, you might become cautious around. That's the power of storytelling. Early in the after the first, when Obasanjo came into power, when he had a lot of women in his cabinet.
Right, exactly.
And then in the Senate, we had someone like Florence Itagiwa, we had what's her name? Senator Bent. They were all in the Senate at that time. And what the story was women can be in politics. And what is funny is one woman, Hajia Sawaba, for example, 50 years ago, who had fought, had been beaten, sent to jail for 16 years, 16 times to jail. She was beaten, she was stripped naked. Everything was done for her to fight for the right of women to vote. And she ran, she walked, or she crawled, so that someone like Senator Bent could become a senator. And because Senator Bent ran and was in Senate, she made sure that young women like me cared about politics. And that's because we saw their story. And that's the power to inspire a generation. So when you do not effectively show women in stories, if the only thing you are showing women is they suffer. Like, for example, mothers, naturally they believe mothers can sacrifice their whole lives for children. Not every mother does that. Right. But we just believe, no, a mother's role is supposed to sacrifice her life and suffer for her children. And it's good when mothers decide to do that, but not every mother is like that. So we need to know that there is a power in the stories we tell.
Absolutely.
When you also hear, for example, there's a story very popular, it's an icebreaker when you go for meetings. They tell you, oh, someone had an accident, they brought the person to the hospital, and then somebody treated him, did the surgery, and it was like, oh, the person who treated him was not the father, but who's the surgeon? And most people don't get it. That, okay, it's at the end you realize, oh, the mother was the surgeon. And that story was trying to dispel the myth that women could not be surgeons, or women could not be doctors.
Yeah, for some of us in the development space, that's often, like you said, an icebreaker. You tell a story about a doctor, and immediately you hear doctor, it never occurs to you that it could have been a woman.
Yes, and worst part, when you hear of things like pilot, meteorological engineer, and I always like to say it, I'm proud of my sister. My sister has studied meteorological engineering, and I'm like, okay,
it's male dominated. How did you do it?
Male dominated, but we don't tell these stories enough. We need to remind people that, look, engineering, pilot, being a pilot, medicine, whatever, sciences, farming, wherever you can find women, and if a woman decides this is what I want to do, then she is able to do it. Go to NASA if that's what you want to do, or cook your food if that's what you want to do, right? But with storytelling, we're able to effectively push a narrative to say, look, this is possible, this is feasible, this is something that can happen. I like the Hilda Baci lady who, before even going on that trying to get that Guinness World Record, she had been telling her story of her preparation, of the things she was doing. She built a lot of following to say, you know what, I can do this thing. And when she broke that record, was she the first Nigerian also to have made, I can't remember if that was the case, but she broke a record, and a lot of people instantly said, I want to do it. That's the power of
even though some of them were ridiculous. But I get what it awakened the can-do spirit, especially in Africa and Nigeria, and everyone now knew. But yes.
And I would like to end with me. Like, I became an activist before doing advocacy because of one story. And I always say, one of my favorite teachers, the time when there was crisis in Kaduna and what have you, she picked us up to her house, and the next thing she started telling us the stories and telling us there's no difference between you as a girl and you as a boy, you as a Muslim and you as a Christian. No matter what you are human. And everywhere I go, I tell people, you're human first. You're whole and complete. I heard this statement more than 30 years ago. And that is the person that inspired my desire for the work that I've been doing all my life. Because she was telling it as a story that, you know what, if I cut you, will you bleed? And everybody was, we're kids, and everybody said yes. Is the color of your blood going to be red? Everybody said yes. And Kaduna was burning up. But this woman held us. I'm sure she was afraid herself. But she, in that moment, was telling us a story. And that's what awakened the thought in me that, I needed to also move forward. So you never know how much story can change a person's life and change the trajectory of their life, so that they begin to, some might even do it bad. Because let's take, for example, on the flip side, for almost 5 years, most of the top films coming out of Nigeria were around crime,
rituals,
scam artists, rituals, organ trafficking, and what have you. And what did it do? many people started to get used to the idea of Nigerians being bad people.
Right.
Globally, they began to say, in fact, I recently was somewhere, and the person said, Nigerians, you people do a lot of juju. I said, I don't even know the route to a Babalawo's house.
Exactly.
But you already believe that we do a lot of juju and what have you, just because of the stories that they see about us.
Absolutely.
So stories are so powerful, and they can shift entire perspectives.
So you had a short film reported. Please let's have that conversation, because I know it addresses it addresses sexual and gender-based violence, and I would like to know what inspired you to write that and produce that, and what impact it has gotten, or what you hope for several years it would.
Okay, so I was on radio doing a program like this, having someone, and we're talking. She came in from FIDA, and we were talking about some of the rape cases and what have you. And we're trying to just see what needs to be done, what have you. And she mentioned, oh, okay, Ramatu, right now we have received a report about an 8-year-old girl who had been sexually assaulted. And the parents did the right thing. They went to report the case. While they were there, the police were like, no, you spoil her future if you talk about it, like her reputation will be bad. Nobody will want to marry her. Just let the case go. This was the police. Then somehow the story leaked. The abuser made sure the story leaked. And
the abuser?
Yes, the abuser made sure that the story leaked. And the abuser was like, no, he never did anything. He just... And FIDA was pushing this case and fighting for this girl. And they had gotten, in fact, they had really gone against the police and spoken to them and did everything. But this man was he was sure nothing would happen to him. And why was he sure? Within a week of all of the drama happening, the parents withdrew their case and said everything they said was a lie. I was so heartbreaking. I was living in Adamawa State. I was so heartbreaking. I was so heartbroken. I mean, it was heartbreaking for me. It was sad. I was like, why? Because you had done the right thing by reporting. But then it made me go to research, and I realized most people do not even report their cases of sexual abuse. Most people are unable to, especially with their children or their people with disability that's presenting in terms of a disability in conversation, speech, or hearing. So there were so many things. And when I learned so much, and I said, okay, let's do this film. So I put out a poll and I said, if you've been sexually abused, why did you not report it? And we got answers.
I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine
of it. And people were talking and talking and talking. And I said, you know what? Film is such a powerful tool. Let's make this into a film. And then we made it into a film. And we just showcased 36 of the responses we got. Just 36. Why some of them is I didn't report because my husband is a lawyer, and he said, he knew the law and he would prevent. Another person said because my friend, he was my friend. Another person said because he locked me up in his house and they called me a prostitute. Another person said even when I went to report, the police didn't help me. Nobody helped me. And so when the film launched, I was nervous. It was my first official film.
Right.
And when it launched, people came online. I started adding on. Oh, I didn't report it because it was my family member. I didn't report it because... And I knew somebody now told me, Ramat, you have done one film, but you need to go further. Because you have mentioned why people do not report it. Now, what is the right thing to do? And that's why we started partnering with other organizations who are also educating people on what are the steps. If you're sexually abused, first thing, don't clean your body. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's
feel filth.
You feel exactly.
So I can understand how the first impulse will be to just clean up, but don't.
Clean your body. Immediately go to the hospital. Tell them you want a rape rape assessment done on you. That's the first thing. Once that is done, then you head to the police. In the moment when you are dealing with the pain of being raped, it feels like too much. But that is the only way we can even get some form of justice for people.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate when we have this things happen. However, we don't see impact. I mean, after your film launched, as highly as trending as it was, you would expect we could have, you know, more conversations around this and have changes. Unfortunately, these are still legitimate issues young girls are facing at the moment. But it's time you answer so many more questions. But that will be after this short break. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, we would continue discussing the International Women's Day, the kind of problems and challenges young girls and women face, and how we can go past that and have the girl child of our dreams that does not fear, is confident, and is going there to thrive. We'll be right back.
Welcome to RAZEP Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on RAZEP Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television. Welcome to RAZEP Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Here, we celebrate Africa not as a headline, but as a home full of ideas, courage, flavor, and future. This is where we talk about everything Africa. The politics that shape our nations, the innovations that shift our economies, the culture that colors our lives, the challenges we face with honesty, and the victories we are building one story at a time. On this show, no topic is swept aside. We are unfiltered and we are intentional. We bring you experts from across the continent and the world. Voices that know, voices that live the African experience, voices that are shaping the next chapter of our story. Let your spirit rise. We don't just tell Africa's story, we own it. Join Joy Asonye on RAZEP Africa, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Global Television.
Welcome back from that. We still have Ramatu right here, the founder of Shades of Us, a storytelling initiative. Thank you so much for still being here with us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so the conversation had gotten to report it, but beyond that, you've done so much more. I mean, you even go to taboo topics like period. That's something men don't like to hear about. Women aren't even comfortable enough, you know, to discuss these things because no, it's you talk about mental health as well. You also discuss maternal health. These are topics many communities still stay away from because for reasons that are very superficial, if you ask me, because these are human beings and this is what we face all the time. But before we delve into that, I would like you to just address the fact that we still have these issues in spite of the attention you painstakingly, have been putting into it. We still have these issues. What do you think would bring that final change?
And to be honest, it's beyond heartbreaking. It's disheartening when we have to see that repeatedly, like the circle sometimes seems to be getting worse. But I must say this, there is some progress. We must not negate the fact that there is some progress. With all of the conversations happening globally, with everybody contributing their bit, there is some progress. Let me give an example. If you started Twitter, when Twitter started, early in the 2007, 2008, you would see that there was a lot of victim blaming, a lot of victim shaming. If someone came out to report their abuse, in fact, they would be run off.
Yeah.
There was this lady who had talked about a pastor who had sexually abused her, and she was run off the site. It was terrible to witness.
I remember it was so bad.
It was so bad.
Yes, because
and watching it for her, I felt bad. Talk more of her having to relieve and be re-traumatized by everything. However, until recently, when Twitter changed hands again, there was a point in Twitter, say 2 years, 3 years ago, if someone reported her rape, most people would come, I believe you. You have done the right thing. In fact, a lot of men were coming into the comment section. Once men made all those rapey jokes, or some men would say, this is not it. Delete this thing, remove it, change your mindset. And it felt like the world was
refreshing
changing.
To see, yes.
It was refreshing to see. But then things changed, and we now had, we're in a world where monetization of content and the algorithm changes and what have you allowed almost everything we were experiencing in 2007, 2008 to come back in full force. And it's not just that, it's the way stories are told. It's a comedian doing a skit where he's hitting a woman's butt. You are explaining to people that it is okay to do it. And we saw something that trended just last week, where a girl was walking down the street and nearly 20 men, because she wore a strapless dress, and nearly 20 men were following and harassing her on the street. When I was a little bit younger, we had complained, the market march that happened.
Oh, yes.
We had been part of it, talked about, men not touching us. And for the first time in my life, I went to the market and no man tried to touch me.
Yeah.
But do you know that just a few weeks ago, I went to the market and one man was like, my collar, and he was almost touching. And until I raised my hand like I was going to hit him before he backed up. Because you see, the stories that they have been filling themselves up on negates women's existence, negates the abuse, and it is helping to contribute to the abuse that we see in society. It's why we celebrate the men who are allies and are actively
he for she's
that are speaking up against all of these kinds of abuse. Let me tell you, women cannot end the abuse against us.
Absolutely.
Unless violence is resorted to.
But does it also concern you? Does it also concern you that there's a woman in that video who thinks it's fine? We see.
I'm trying to contain myself.
I can imagine. We sometimes women are the producers of this content that inadvertently show us in this light.
Trust me, I hold these women to the same degree as I hold the men who push this, and even sometimes to the abusers, because the enablers of abuse contribute. They ensure that you are keeping the system available.
Exactly.
Let me take you to Gambia. Gambia had recently passed a bill ending female genital mutilation. We celebrated globally because we knew the women had worked hard, they had fought, they had done the community engagement. Some of them had been killed for saying that female genital mutilation was wrong. In less than a week, the countries, some religious leaders, some traditional leaders, but especially there's a clique of women who actually do the cutting. And they said they wanted to maintain the cultures and traditions of their people, regardless of science telling you there is no benefit.
Wrong, no benefits.
Regardless of everything saying this is wrong. Everything was presented, and they were the enablers of the abuse. So that's why many people say if something is happening and you do not pick a side, you have chosen the side of the oppressor.
Exactly.
And it's true. Once you have these women who are enabling abuse to girls, it is bad. Just yesterday, I saw a video on TikTok. Some girl brought it onto my timeline. She mentioned how there's this show on. It's a Nigerian show actually. And they send in what you have done as a terrible thing, and the people are on stage. And this girl said, oh, she had, because her friend had slept with her boyfriend, she had set her up with guys to rape her. And she was smiling and laughing. And everybody in the comment section was, what is funny about this? What is funny about setting up a woman to be raped? What is funny about that? She was like, oh, she was jealous and she was petty, that's why she did it. Excuse you, that is a crime.
Wow.
So that's just yesterday.
The guts.
So
you would never do this in some parts of the world because, again, the police is waiting. You know, there are consequences.
Exactly. There are consequences if you do things.
Unfortunately, we are having this same gender enable yes. Very unfortunate concerning trends like this.
It's sad for me, especially knowing, and I've been doing this for a long time. My first awareness about gender issues and women's issues, I was 8 years old. I've been doing this for a long time, and it feels like it's just a dip in the ocean. But I do not want to negate the progress that has been made.
Absolutely.
I do not want to negate the fact that right now convictions are happening, and I must celebrate the Lagos State Domestic Violence Agency, LADV, LAVA. I can't remember.
Right.
The Lagos State Domestic Violence Agency. They are a plus to the Nigerian system. For every rape case that is brought up, they will follow through.
True.
They will do victim prep, victim healing, trauma, mental health. They will follow through with suing the abuser, and they have gotten so many convictions.
Absolutely.
So it means that something can be done. There's also another organization, Brave Heart Initiative.
Yes,
they work a lot in Edo State. They have been securing convictions of rape, especially of minors who are unable, people with disability. They are doing the work. We are all doing the work. The problem is that the world seems to be stuck in that unchanging phase. Right. But I know that it can happen.
Absolutely.
That is why we continue to keep doing our little.
I mean, Nigeria has wonderful laws. Wonderful laws.
I just said that I was on radio just yesterday, and I said the very same thing. We have amazing laws. In fact, some of the laws that have been impacted in the sense of having gender desks across all the federal parastatals and what have you, at the police, at the military and what have you, these things are good because they come from the laws that we have, but they need to be implemented further. It's different with saying we have a gender desk, yet when someone says I have been sexually abused, a police officer is still most likely going to tell you
very unfortunate.
Yeah. Just last week or so, a girl was talking about how her boyfriend was abusive, and so she went to the police to report him so that they could give him for the life of me, I can't remember the word. The thing where you stay away from someone for a while.
Okay.
Before it goes to court. Not a court order. But
I get it.
Yeah.
It will come. Yeah.
I've forgotten. But so she went, and the police was like, "Why would you break his heart? He's just sad now. It's because you broke his heart." What?
Yeah, but
implementation still needs to be better. We have amazing laws. We have. I know I've worked some years ago. Worked on some of the laws for adolescents. Sexual and reproductive health. We had worked on some of that. Some laws on family planning. Something, but. On paper, we look good on paper.
We look good. Absolutely. So, I mean, what would you say should be the takeaway for people who are listening to you right now? This is the International Women's Day. In fact, the entire month we celebrate the women this entire month. Again, we are inundated with workshops and conferences. I'm supposed to be in one at the moment. Workshop, conferences, webinars, and all of that, discussing this over and over and over. But you are a digital storyteller, and I mean, it goes without saying the impact and mileage you could have with your platforms. How else do you think everybody's hand coming on board would help this seemingly unchanging minds of our time.
That's why I love the theme for this year, which is give to gain. And I'm going
give to gain.
Give to gain.
Right.
And I love this. I was explaining this on my social media when I posted it, that once you give someone something like this, especially for us Africans, it comes from a place of respect. It comes from a place of, I'm giving you my all, like I'm pushing, giving it. If I give you something with one hand, it's like, okay, maybe there's some reservation, but if I give it to you, like it's like I'm giving you my
completely
all.
Right.
But it's also the duality of the fact that you can
receive like that as well.
Like this, right? So I love the theme so much because we have a lot that we can give. You having me here on this program, talking to millions of people, you're giving knowledge to the world. So that's your contribution. And anyone listening to you is receiving that knowledge that you're giving. I am doing my films, I'm doing a lot of you, and I'm using that to try and change perspective. Some people are giving money.
Right.
Some people are giving time because there's mentorship going on right now. At my organization, we're doing a lot of capacity building for young storytellers. So that Ramat is not just in the corner as one person telling stories. We have 100 people telling stories to say, let us change our perspective using stories. I know of an organization, Swag Initiative, they're giving their time, money, they're paying school fees for girls who are in IDP camps, underserved communities, they're giving their best. I know another organization called Strong Enough Girls Initiative, what they're doing is they're teaching girls how to make podcasts, because podcast is the in thing. So they're teaching them how to make podcasts so that they can be reliable for themselves. There are some people, let's say Hope Behind Bars, I can go on and on. Hope Behind Bars is helping women in prison. They make, in fact, I received a package from them, a bag that was made by prisoners. It was high quality. The design was beautiful, because there's the idea that we should have corrective justice instead of just punitive justice.
Exactly.
So they're changing little things. There's a lady who started a farm, and I just saw her page yesterday. She started a farm in Jos. She's helping women to farm. Like, if you see the big bell peppers she's getting from her farm through an aeroponic farming, and she's getting huge bell peppers, huge cucumbers, all of that, and getting women to work with her to learn. There are women who are teaching video production, food making, cooking, everybody. We have one thing that we can do. We can give a little bit of ourselves to ensure that women improve their lives globally. I worked on a project that ended last year in March, and one of the things we did was help women to save, and they didn't need to save too much. The 50 naira you save today, the 100 naira you save tomorrow,
aggregate and become something worth.
We're starting businesses. It was one of the most beautiful, and I really love the originator of that project. Her name is Chizoba Onyechi. I honor her so much because the project was helping women, and I was seeing it in real time. Women who had never had 1,000 naira outside of what was given to them by their husbands were starting businesses and growing it and having their first 100. If you go into the and you see a woman make her first 100,000 and the joy she has when she says, I made 100,000 naira because I was saving, and because I was saving collectively as a group. It's called the Women's Empowerment Group. Because I was saving collectively as a group, I could take a loan from there and start a soap making business or akamo, whatever. And they were making money. And so all of us have our role to play. We should be girls and help. And one thing I am proud of is when I started making films, I had very few women behind the camera. You have directors, yes, but in terms of handling the camera, handling the sound, it was male dominated. But most times on my set, you see my girls. I do a lot of the heavy lifting, and the girls do a lot of the heavy lifting. So women can, women should, and women will. If we give
absolutely. So what are you telling that girl child who right now is listening to you and wondering, oh, okay, I want to be like her, and I want to be like all the people you have mentioned who are doing something. As we wrap up, what would be your last thoughts on the matter?
I was a girl when I first found myself, and I hope that you find yourself today. it just might mean looking at somebody. When they say representation matters, it really does matter. So look for somebody that you think you want to aspire to. Even till now, I have women I want to aspire to. So look for that woman. Look at what they are doing right. The things they're not doing well, scrap it out. It's not necessarily for you. But find the thing you want to do and stay with it.
Right.
Stay with it, because you can be anything you want to be as long as you give it. It's going to be hard work. Sometimes it's going to be harder work because we are women, but it is doable and you can be the person that you want to be.
Absolutely. I mean, that was really phrased right. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for using your platform to ensure that you are inspiring women across. You never know, there are millions of women who might be looking at you and saying, I want to also be like
me.
Thank you.
I can imagine. All right, but you know, as we celebrate the International Women's Day, I am always saying that you can be anything you want to be if you put your mind to it. It may be tough, like she said, but just keep at it. You would indeed blossom to that person you have always wished to be. With that, I say thank you so much for watching. We have been discussing with Ramatu Ada Ocheklie, a media and digital storyteller and the founder of Shades of Us. This is where we end today's edition of RAZEP Africa. Rest assured, we'll be back next time. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Welcome to RAZEP Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show.